complex in that God is in everything. In other words, it can be defined as this. Theism says that God is the painter and creation is the painting, where pantheism would suggest that God is the painting. Does that make sense? And so when you suggest that God's under every rock, he's in all of us, it's saying that he is the painting. That's not the theistic worldview at all. But let me maybe bring some clarification to your question about why is Jesus the light of the world and why does he play such an intricate role in the created order. If it's okay, I'd like to. Is it okay if you guys mind if I pick up where the Bible speaks on this one?
Yes.
Okay. This is Colossians 1, and Colossians 1 tells us that God, speaking of Christ, is before all things, in all things, and through him all things came to exist. So the opposite of the opposite of sacred is not secular. It's a perversion of the reality that nothing exists apart from God. So that's the theistic understanding that might help put a finer pinpoint on your argument. Does that make sense?
Not really.
Okay, man. We might have to talk about this later on. Thanks, Val.
Side of the room, go ahead.
Mr. Drake, at first I want to say I really enjoyed your speech, but I noticed your point towards the determination rights of morality. You mentioned that in the Tertullianism system, the ultimate leader have the rights to define morality. But as a Christian, as the book Bible is the answer for everything. Bible have the rights to define morality, but Bible are always been widely abused. How can we know our church are not abusing Bible? Should we rely this on faith?
Wow. Okay. Well, this is a little off topic tonight, but Bob, with your permission, I'll try to address it. Okay. So let me see if I get this right. First, you're asking about the authority of Scripture and then its role in control or its abusive role in control?
What I try to say is the determination rights for moral.
Source of morality.
Yes.
Okay.
The source for, or say who define morality.
Right.
In one system, in a we say such as emperor system, the head, the president, whatsoever, they have the rights to determine what morality is. But you mentioned that as Christians, Christians could define morality based on faith of God and Bible. But Bible, the book of moral, always being abused by churches. How can we know our churches are not abusing Bible?
Great question. Okay, two parts. One, and I'm just going to briefly answer this so we can continue with the debate that's on the floor tonight. One is that, yes, the Bible is a source of morality for the Christian worldview because it sets the absolute standard rather than a man-contrived or subjective one. The reason for that, in the line of logic that would flow from the monotheistic, or certainly the Christian worldview, is that who would know how to live life better than the creator of life? So if we want to know how to best live life, we should look to the creator of life. So that's the premises that we come at the Bible from the Christian worldview. Secondly, is pertaining to man. Anything man puts his hand to is tainted, unfortunately. We just have, and you women can testify that, we just seem to be able to mess things up, and that's certainly the case for the history of the church. But again, if there was a perfect church, it wouldn't be made up of people because we all have our faults. So I would say the Bible stands. The interpretation is certainly up for question. And when it is up for question, you're better to seek counsel than to just make decisions based on your own whims and logic. Again, there is a way that seems right to man, but in the end, it leads to death. A wise man seeks advice. Thank you.
Thank you for your answer.
That's fine. All right.
That's all.
Go ahead.
My question's for Drake. First, I want to say you're a really good speaker. I hope one day I'll be able to speak as well as you. I guess I want to start by asking, we're just kind of saying that you you've talked a lot about proofs throughout your entire argument.
Right.
All of the proofs that you offer support kind of a deistic God. You use that word a few times too. But you brought up theistic God a lot. You went from saying that there's some kind of evidence for the beginning of the universe. And there's something should have started that, according to your position.
Right.
But once you say, well, what if something started it, you're done. There's really no way to go from maybe there's something to there's something that we know a lot of characteristics, specifically that we know that there's a something that created the universe, and we also know that it doesn't want us to abort babies. Like, how do you go from there's this something that is very vague, this vague concept, God or creator or starting or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
How do you go from this vague concept of somehow creating things to, there is a definite morality that it commands, and furthermore, how can you claim that there is a definite morality and at the same time claim that people are doing things with a relative morality all the time? I mean, doesn't that contradict your point that there is an ultimate morality if it's very obvious that people are doing very immoral things and believing it, truly believing it, not trying to trick themselves into thinking it or choosing to believe that, for example, blowing up the World Trade Center is the right thing to do. They legitimately believe that what they were doing was right. How can you claim that there is one shared universal morality of mankind when all of the evidence supports the contrary? There are very wide range of different types of morality. How can you claim that any one of those is the best? So yeah, I guess that's kind of a two-parter.
Yeah, those are very, very well stated questions. I think you really undercut yourself saying you're not a good communicator. Let me say this, and I'm not trying to give you a short, quick answer. This deserves a lunch on me, so we'll do that sometime. Yeah, my email is on this little sheet of paper in front of you. But I'd love to talk some more about this. So let me just briefly attempt to skim across it. Nothing times nothing equals nothing. That's just the way it's always going to be. At some point, you have to include a something in there. And that something is what I'm suggesting supports the theistic worldview. Now, that doesn't just include the Christian worldview. That would include the Jewish worldview.
Define what you mean by theistic God for me?
Yeah, great question. When I am saying theistic God, when I'm going back to that painter example, there is a painter and they're painting. The painting is the creation, the painter is God. So that's theism, one-on-one for you. Now, the way we get in three major worldviews embrace theism: Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. Okay? So that's why I've been using the title tonight. I'm sorry that I didn't have time to define all these things for you, but I just didn't feel like it was needed to with a limited amount of time. But I will say this: the reason that we know that there was some sort of creator designer is because the universe had a beginning, and at some point in existence came into existence, and even beyond that, inorganic became organic. And so you have to account for this. Again, you have to put a something somewhere in that equation, and so that something for me is the theist, and that's why I presented those statistics, probability, and just the sheer information, the sheer overwhelming size of the universe to you to show that this is a God-sized project, a God-sized miracle. There's really nothing else that can account for it. Is that okay?
Can you clarify one point for me?
I'll try to
you defined the theistic God, and you said that you just said that there's a painter, that these things support there being a theistic God, but again, you didn't really explain how you can go from the painter, which again is just a word. You're really not describing any of the characteristics of this painter at this point.
Right.
There's no evidence to support any of that. And you also said...
I'm sorry, let me stop you right there.
Yeah, sure.
That was the point of the presentation tonight. I hope it didn't put you to sleep. Was
No.
that there is plenty of proof and evidence that supports that there is a creator, a designer,